Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Thursday, January 11th. Change is in the air in Jacksonville. Change is in the air everywhere right now across the NFL landscape. But look, the Jaguars, they have some contract situations on both sides of the ball that are worth examining entering the 2024 offseason. We're going to start with the offensive side of the ball, look at some expensive contracts, some contracts that have some maneuverability, just to give y'all an idea of some different things the Jaguars could do to either save cap, to push cap out into the future, different things that can help them get into a good salary cap situation in 2024 to where they could potentially add talent in free agency, right? I think that is going to be the key for the Jaguars in certain areas of their roster this year. But let's go ahead and get into it on the offensive side of the ball. But if you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. Today is the final day of our season end sale. Code Duval for 30% off on your order. That's DUUUVAL. 3 U's for you there. Really appreciate y'all being here. So, Jaguars, according to SpotRack, they have about $29 million in cap space entering the offseason. According to overthecap.com, they have $14 million in cap space. I'm not sure what the difference is there, so we're going to need to square that and figure that out as we move forward in the offseason. I would guess that those two numbers get closer together from those two different websites. Either way, they have a ton of maneuverability and flexibility on both sides of the football. Again, we're starting with the offensive side of the ball. We're going to look at that cap situation. Calvin Ridley, he is a free agent, not under contract following his first year in Jacksonville. Now the Jaguars, they can franchise tag him. They could do a lot of different things. Franchise tag him. They could sign him. If they sign him prior to the draft, he's going to end up costing them a second-round pick. I believe if they franchise tag him, place the franchise tag on him, that he will be a third-round pick in 2024, heading towards the Atlanta Falcons, right? I'm not 100% positive on that because I haven't read the contract, but a franchise tag does not qualify normally as a new contract. So I would imagine that if they place the franchise tag on Calvin Ridley, that they would be giving up a third-round pick. If they don't sign Calvin Ridley, they would still be giving up a third-round pick. If they do sign him to a new deal, it's a second-round pick. So that's kind of how the Calvin Ridley situation will work. I believe that, he had plenty of highs for the Jaguars this season. I think he also was a little bit of a roller coaster in terms of his performance, ability to catch the football down the field, run the correct routes, be in the right place at the right time for his quarterback. So I think it'll be really interesting how they view that, how they handle that situation. But if the Jaguars do decide that Calvin Ridley is not the direction they want to go at receiver, I think that they're going to need to pursue a different receiver in free agency because I don't think you can go into next season with only Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, and we're going to talk about Zay Jones' contract here as well. So I definitely think there could be change in the air at receiver for the Jaguars outside of Christian Kirk. Cam Robinson, he's in the final year of his contract in 2024. He carries a cap hit of $21.6 million. That is hefty. The Jaguars do save $17.7 million by releasing him. I don't think the Jaguars should release him. I say extend him. I think that based on what you saw with the offensive line this year, Cam Robinson being a starter for you at tackle is going to be in your best interest. It's going to be in Trevor Lawrence's best interest moving forward. He's 28 years old. He's been with the team his entire career. He brings energy. He brings enthusiasm. I think he's a borderline top 10 left tackle right now in the NFL. So I think you should keep Cam Robinson around. Talking about Christian Kirk, I mentioned him already. He is super expensive as well. Cap hit of over $24 million in 2024, but the way his contract is set up, the Jaguars can't really release him or anything like that, and nor should they. You cannot lose Christian Kirk. You saw what happened to the Jaguars offense without him. I think that he absolutely is incredibly valuable as a receiver for the Jaguars, even if it is primarily from the slot. If you want to, you can extend him. Extending his contract would save you some 2024 cap space. Adding another void year onto the back of that contract, I believe you could do. That would also save you some salary cap short term. And a void year is just a year after the contract is technically over that you're able to push out a signing bonus and have that cap hit after the contract is actually over. And usually that's going to be like around $5 million, something like that. Nothing huge for void years usually. Otherwise, you're potentially paying for a player a lot of money for a player that you're no longer employing. So that's just kind of a little explanation on void years. Brandon Sheriff, he has a $23 million cap hit in 2024. You save $9 million by releasing him pre-June 1, but he still counts over $14 million against the cap regardless. Again, if you release him before June 1. So I think the Jaguars definitely have an interesting situation there. Is he worth a $23 million cap hit at this point in his career? I think that's definitely debatable. I think most fans at this point probably lean on the side of no, but we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. Zay Jones, wide receiver, his cap hit is $11 million. You can save $4.5 million by releasing him. That would still leave you with a cap hit of $6.59 million for Zay Jones, even if you release him pre-June 1. Now, if you do it post-June 1, you can save $8 million. But these post-June 1 designations, when you release players post-June 1, that does not help you early on in free agency because you don't get that cap space until June. That goes for the same for all these potential cuts. You would save more money against the cap by designating these players to be post-June 1 cuts, but you don't get that salary cap relief until after June 1st. And of course, free agency happens in March, the big part of free agency, right? The initial signings of free agency, most of the big-time players that are signed over the offseason will be prior to June. So again, it will give you salary cap relief later on, but it won't help you sign players in 2024. At least it won't help you sign players in that first wave of free agency. Evan Ingram is an expensive contract, but he's not going anywhere. He just signed that deal last year. You've got Jamal Agnew, who is also a free agent in your receiver core. Probably more of a special teams player than a receiver, but still, he has done some things on the offensive side of the ball for the Jaguars. You have to decide if you want to pay him to come back, coming off an injury. I think he's been injured every year that he's been in Jack so far, but perhaps the best returner in football. Certainly one of the top 5 return players in the game today. Ezra Cleveland is also a free agent. Do you want to bring him back? You traded a 6th-round pick for Cleveland. You wanted to get some fortification of the interior of that offensive line. He pretty much got hurt right when he got here and wasn't playing at his best, I don't think, down the stretch for the Jaguars. You have to decide if you want to bring him back to play left guard for you. So there's definitely a lot of different mechanizations and different decisions that the Jaguars are going to have to make, right, over the next few months. So the biggest cap situations, like I said, Christian Kirk, you can't get rid of, you don't want to get rid of. You can restructure or extend him to save some 2024 cap. Cam Robinson, you can absolutely release. You can extend. You could just keep him on the books at what he currently is scheduled to make. I think you'd be a little crazy to release him personally based on how he's played and how the offense has played without him. I think you need 3 good tackles. I say you extend him, but if you want to roll with Walker Little at left tackle and find the swing tackle elsewhere, I don't agree with that necessarily, but I do understand it from a salary cap standpoint. I do think you should keep Cam Robinson. I think you should just extend him to push some of that cap hit down the road. But if you want to get younger, if you want to get cheaper, I would understand the thought process there, but I would not agree with it. Brandon Sheriff, you could move on from, but you're still going to be paying him a lot regardless of if you move on from him or not. I think he's still worth paying because you don't want to create another hole. Right now, with the Jaguars roster, you already have a hole at center. Luke Fortner cannot be your starter in 2024. You have a hole at left guard. Ezra Cleveland, he could potentially be your starter, but he's not on the roster right now either, right? He's going to be a free agent. You have to decide if you want to try to bring him back. So you already have 2 other holes on the interior. I don't think you create another one by moving on from your best interior player. I would either extend Brandon Sheriff or add another void year on the back end of that contract to reduce the 2024 cap hit. The Jaguars, they have a very healthy future salary cap situation. So I don't think that adding a couple void years onto a few different players this year is really going to be preventative of having a healthy salary cap situation in the future. That's just the way I view it. Zay Jones, I'd probably move on from him. You save almost $5 million by doing so. In my opinion, he is an average at best third receiver in the NFL today. I think he's being paid more than what you should be paying an average third receiver. And I think you could try to upgrade your third receiver spot over what Zay Jones brings to the table. Yes, he has been a guy that has made some incredible plays for the Jaguars, battled through injury a lot in 2023, but overall, I think the consistency level from Zay Jones, even when fully healthy, has not been there. You don't know what you're going to get game to game. Yes, you have had some amazing performances. You've also had some absolute stinkers. So for me, I would try to move on and upgrade that spot. But there you have it. There are clear ways to create salary cap space for the Jacksonville Jaguars on the offensive side of the ball, whether it's more void years, more extensions, releasing players to save on cap, or a combination of all those things. We will see how it plays out for the Jaguars on the offensive side of the ball. We will look at the defensive salary cap situations tomorrow. That'll be really interesting because there are some big decisions the Jaguars are going to have to make on that side of the ball next year, this year, and in the coming years. So really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. Final day of our end of the season sale, 30% off with code Duval. That's DUUUVAL. That's 3 U's. Really appreciate y'all. Have a good one.